thank you to all the distinguished guests for being here as well. I'm in the presence of so many people who are such experts in this area. I don't have to contribute a lot, but what I would really want to talk about is how one aspect of it, which is the corporate, it can actually play its part in this entire ecosystem of sustainability that we're talking about. So my first question is, have you ever wondered why only 10% of the plastics in the world are recycled and 90% of the metals are recycled? The answer could be very simply that the metal is obviously much more precious, but actually from a technical standpoint, metals are very easy to sort, and plastics are not. And sometimes it takes a lot of burning in landfills that's required to get the plastic or metal out of the plastic because of the technology that we were talking about over the last couple of years, which has industrialized so many different types of hybrid packaging materials, which then become a very big problem for us when we go back to recycling. Typical way to recycle would obviously be to collect, process, and then sell something which is recyclable to begin with, which all the plastic that is being used in the world right now is not. However, there are more efficient ways of recycling as well. And places like obviously Green Earth are doing a great job in terms of providing solutions to sort and recycle more efficiently. And that's where the problem is. And what we really need to find is energy efficient ways. In Pakistan, if you look at it currently, we have a very big informal sector which helps us collect and sort very, very effectively. But the next step is there, but kind of missing in terms of energy efficient ways of recycling all of this. But there is a need to close this loop, and I have something in my hand here, which was probably going to kind of complete what we're talking about. So this bottle that I have in my hand is made out of 100% recycled PET. And this is the ideal situation that we would like to be in, because we've just launched this, and if you come from Karachi, you'll probably see it on the shelves. Zero compromise, slightly higher cost, but here's a life cycle that we really need to aspire to. What we're looking at here is basically what we call is the entire loop. This is the first time we're doing it in Pakistan, and within the region. This is the second market after Qatar. And in the Qatar World Cup, we have made sure that 100% of the bottles that are being used in the stadiums are 100% recycled. So, and now Pakistan, and starting with Karachi, is the second market to do that within our region. So I'm just going to talk about very quickly a couple of examples of the areas that we would get involved in over a period of time, just so that to give you idea of how and what are the different dimensions of driving sustainability over a period of time. So first one is obviously the Ravi River Basin. You all understand that we consume water when we're developing, when we're producing the product. A lot of that product is obviously sold, and a lot of water is wasted during the process. Our job is to make sure that that water, when it's being wasted, it's treated and it's sent back into the basin so that we can keep on replenishing water. And I'm happy to state that we are replenishing right now more than 100% of the water that we're actually consuming, so that we continue to make that cycle and we don't dry out our rivers. The second thing that we need is, when you're working in a space like that, is basically alliances across the industry, because we're not the only industry which is working in this space, dealing with plastics, dealing with water. And it's important to keep inspiring each other, sharing technology. On one hand, getting global best practices, but at the same time, regulations and advocacy for regulatory changes is extremely important, and you need an alliance like the Core Network to actually help bring that to life and make sure that all stakeholders are moving forward as the companies are trying to make a difference. In Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, we've opened up a new plant and very happy that since it was a new opportunity to start a new plant, we're basically solar powered the plant in Haripur, and the commitment is from our bottlers that we will convert 5 of our other plants to solar power in the next 3 to 4 years. So that's something that's a journey that we are on. Karachi waste management problem is a big problem that we have all experienced. And what we found out that there is a river called Liari River in Karachi. So think about 5 rivers across the country coming into one Indus, Indus coming into Liari, and it's all going into the sea. And that's the same fish that we eat. And that's the marine life that we're basically affecting. So 20 years from that report, we found out 20 years nobody's cleaned that river. 20 years. And that needs to be cleaned every day, every minute, every hour. And it's 13 kilometers of a river, which is almost packed up with solid waste. So that's a big project that has been commissioned with about 24 collaborators across government, civil society, and a lot of technical people, including an NGO startup, which has created technology to actually start cleaning rivers on a day-to-day basis, put in interceptors, using AI, using robotics to make sure that we not only clean the rivers, but also use that the material that is being picked up through that cleaning process to recycle back and create an ecosystem around it. One more example I would like to share with you is from last year, where we developed with amazing collaboration from CDA and the National Incubation Center. We developed a 1 kilometer stretch of a plastic road here in Islamabad at the Shara Ataturk. This project obviously required a lot of R&D. Not the first time anybody's doing it, but then you wonder, why haven't we done it up till now in Pakistan? So the idea was to crack the model, showcase it, and start advocacy in the space of all developers who are building roads to start using this technology to build roads. Why? Because 1, it's eco-friendly. 2, it lasts you 2 times. And who doesn't want more roads in Pakistan, and the ones that actually last and are much more durable than the ones that we have. So today we're actually going to be celebrating our 1st year anniversary, and I'm very happy. The next thing is obviously around the RPET that we just mentioned. We have just launched it in Karachi because the Sindh regulators have actually accepted it. However, we are working with the Punjab and KPK governments and the regulators to be able to kind of approve this form. It's a completely, let's say, food safe grade that we create. If you look at the bottle, again, I shouldn't be telling you this, but there's a slight tint. I mean, does anybody here mind that the bottle is not 100% white, transparent, and it has a little bit of a black tint? Does anybody here mind that? As a consumer? No, right? I mean, as long as we know that this bottle has been made out of 100% recycled plastic and it can actually be recycled again. So that's something that I think which is going to be a big on the agenda. Beyond Pakistan, I think there's a lot of work happening in across Europe. We're working with a European NGO. I talked about Ocean Cleanup, and Coca-Cola is working with them to clean up about 10 rivers across the world. Qatar, we just talked about already. We, at a global level, have brought all our bottlers together and getting a pledge for 2030 to make sure that every bottle that we make, we actually collect and recycle for that by 2030 across the world. So that's a huge task that we've taken upon ourselves, and it could not be possible without all our bottling partners actually completely signing up to it, and I'm happy to say that they have, and we're all committed to doing that. On top of that, when we come back home, there's a lot of good innovative work that's happening in the space of recycling. So just like the road that we talked about, just like the bottle that we're talking about, there are companies, polymer companies, which are started to make thread out of recycled plastic. And I'm actually wearing a T-shirt which is actually made out of recycled plastic, and it's actually very good quality, and it has all the properties of premium fabric that we actually pay a huge, let's say, premium for brands. But that's actually available now inside the country. But there's something that we can definitely scale up and increase the life of this plastic by a couple of years, because this fabric is actually very, very durable. On that note, I think the list goes on, as Versab was saying. There's a lot of work that has happened, needs to happen more so. But on behalf of the company and our bottling partners, CCI, I would like to again confirm the global pledge that by 2030, Coca-Cola will be collecting and recycling a bottle or can for every bottle sold. Thank you very much, and please help us make this world a better place.